Hi, I'm Peter Jones, Chartered Surveyor, author and property investor.
In this video I thought I'd address a problem which is actually quite a common problem that I find when I'm talking to would-be investors, and that is that the would-be investor wants to get into property and they have a plan for getting into property, but on closer examination it seems like they're pursuing the wrong strategy. A particular example, I was with somebody recently who was saying that they wanted to get into buy-to-let, they want to build a portfolio, but they haven't got any money for deposits and they don't like the idea of raising private finance. In fact, the idea scares them. Now, I've done other videos on this, and I've done a video recently about what to do if you feel scared of raising private finance. I don't think you should, by the way, but in this particular instance, the person I was speaking to was quite clear that despite my urging to the contrary, that they didn't feel that they'd be able to raise any private finance, and so they were wondering what to do. Well, it seemed to me quite a simple solution, really, because if they don't have any money, and if they're nervous about going out and borrowing money from private investors, then probably wanting to put together a portfolio of buy-to-let properties is the wrong strategy. What they should have been doing is thinking of how they can put together a plan which would help them to do no money down deals. I've done videos on this YouTube channel about no money down, so please do have a look at that. That would be one way of building a portfolio. The alternative is to think about other strategies which don't require upfront capital. So maybe starting off by going into rent-to-rent. One thing which they could definitely do, particularly in the area in which they're located, where it was an area which is good for cheap property, good for buy-to-lets, which is why they were thinking of buy-to-lets. But as they couldn't afford to buy the buy-to-lets themselves, the obvious alternative, or the obvious strategy, which I was encouraging them to undertake, would be to find properties for other people. In other words, to become a deal sourcer or a deal packager, to find properties, to negotiate a great deal, and then to pass that deal on to another investor and take a fee. Why? Because they could, because they don't need any upfront capital to do that. Plus, they could use the income which they receive, or the fees that they receive from selling those deals, and start to build a nest egg which they could then use as a deposit to start investing in their own properties. So what I realised was, when I was talking to this particular person, is that they've got the enthusiasm, they've got the energy to get into property, but they probably weren't channeling it in quite the right way. So if you're about to get into property, if you're thinking about getting into property, have a very careful think about what it is you're trying to achieve, and then think about what is the best way to achieve what you want to achieve. What is the best strategy? And very often it's not the most obvious strategy which is the best strategy to follow.
Well, I hope you found that informative and inspirational. And if you want help in property, please do come over to my website, www.thepropertyteacher.co.uk. Loads of great resources there, including my blog. There's loads of free videos, loads of great articles. There's free reports to download, including Learning with Peter, where you'll be able to access resources like my video courses, like my ebooks, including my home study course, the Successful Property Investors Strategy Workshop, which I've literally sold thousands of copies of, which takes you through how I started in property, literally with none of my own money, but how I was able to build a portfolio of £2 million worth of property in just 4 years. I'll show you everything that I did right so that you can do the same, and I'll show you everything that I did wrong. I'll tell you about all of my mistakes so that you can avoid them, so that you can progress in property far more quickly than me. Until next time, here's to successful property investing.